Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
My name is Barry Allen. And I am the fastest man alive.
Listen, there's a war coming. A terrible war.
You have failed this city.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to, once again, the Fandom Zone podcast. For those of you who are probably surprised that I'm talking right off the bat, yes, it's me, Charles Skaggs. Unfortunately, one of our co-hosts, Karen Lindsay, is the victim of real-life stuff and is taking the week off to rest and recover and recharge her brain. So, Karen, our thoughts are with you. In the meantime, though, we have a wonderful special guest host with the most filling in. Please, everyone, give a nice hearty welcome to Dahne.
Dawn.
Dahne. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That works.
Dahne.
No problem.
It's the long A instead of the short A. Or vice
Dawn
versa.
is what I am, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Yes, hello, Dawn. I apologize for butchering your name right off the bat, so
no problem.
Feel free to criticize me as much as you want. You can call me Charles Skaggs, if that helps, or Charles, if that helps. I don't care.
Oh, okay. A little French twist to it?
Charlet.
That'll work.
There So, everyone, we are going to once again talk about comics on television, as we always do. And this week we have only 5. We've been doing 6 episodes in a week. So we actually have a little breathing room to get into our shows a little more. We only have 5 because now that The Walking Dead has ended its 5th season, we're going to dive right in. We're going to go right down the week and start off with this week's episode of The Flash. This will be episode 17 of the first season, Tricksters, written by showrunner Andrew Kreisberg and directed by Ralph Hemmicker. And I absolutely love this episode. I hope Dawn did as well.
I did. This is actually my favorite of the episodes that you're discussing today.
And mine as well. So this episode, basically, it's my pick of the week because as an old school Flash fan of the comic books and then also of the 1990 to 1991 television series that starred John Wesley Shipp and also featured a certain Mark Hamill as the Trickster. I was really, really looking forward to this episode, and this is just pure fanboy porn for me. I just loved it to death. This is just fantastic. Lots of in-jokes, lots of sly pop culture references that we'll get into. And I hope you felt the same, Dawn.
I did. For me, they had me at I am your father. They really did.
That line, I was on Twitter, just tweeting away, and, Hamill delivers that line just so well. He's just like, he's talking to his son, Axel Walker, the second Trickster, and he gives that look and he goes, "I am your father," and you could just hear like a million Star Wars fans' voices crying out.
I was laughing so hard it was hard to breathe.
It
It was just fantastic, and the
I
delivery was spot on.
it was the timing was perfect. Hamill always has great timing, as anyone who listened to his work as the Joker on the Batman the animated series, or in various other projects. He knows comedic timing very well, and yeah, just I think I split my wife Lori's eardrums with just I think I squeed. I read out. I just went, ah! He said the thing. He said the thing. So it was great.
I just thought that he was a lot of fun. And, I think that for the last couple of weeks, Flash has been missing some of the fun and humorous side, and they just really went overboard. And it was campy, it was over the top, but it was fabulous.
Right. I totally agree. And one of the things that, like I said, as this old school fan of the original Flash series, you know, we got little like nods to the past. We actually got to see images of Hamill in his Trickster costume from back in the day, 1990 or 91, I think, at the time, and leotards and all, which Cisco gives a good little has a good laugh about, but.
Mm.
Just the fact that they incorporated that and made it actually count in this new continuity was fabulous. Although I am wondering that because the Flash stopped the Trickster in the original continuity, okay, who stopped the Trickster in this continuity years ago? Someone had to. The Flash wasn't around, maybe.
It
So
seemed to imply to me that Joe had something to do with
that's
it.
that's that's the only thing we can go with at the moment, unless there's a whole wibbly wobbly timey wimey thing with Barry going back into the past. But so that could happen, but we'll see. But if nothing else, let's just go with Joe. It was just one of the things that struck me as odd. Is like, okay, if this counts, who did he fight back then? But that's just me. Um, let's see, and yeah, apart from just that great. The great delivery of Hamill to his son Axel, played by Devin Gray. Um, we got to see the reunion of Hamill with John Wesley Shipp,
Hmm.
which was just pure fan geekiness right there. And as a side note, a lot of people probably won't catch this reference unless you're a really diehard fan of the original TV series. But Tony Bellows, this in this continuity was the mayor of Central City, and he was played by Vito D'Ambrosio, who played the character Tony Bellows on the original Flash TV series. Only then he was a like comic relief cop back in the day. And now
Hmm.
here he is. He's mayor of Central City. So I just thought it was, so it was great. You had three people from the original TV show. I would have liked to have seen Amanda Pays reprise Tina McGee once again. To kind of complete the foursome, but maybe in a future episode, the Trickster will come back and we'll get to see Tina with him again. So, is there anything else that struck you as like right off the bat, just lovely about this episode?
I think this episode had a lot of heart as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it really moved the plot forward. I like the backstory on Wells, and we kind of figured out what was going on there. I am not a comic person, so I have no background in the Flash. So,
That's okay. I have plenty for the both of us. No worries there.
yeah.
I got
So I guess I don't know if that is something that is in the comic world or not, but it
you.
surprised me and it interests me. So
Right.
I like that.
As far as the comics go, yeah, the basic premise of Eobard Thawne traveling back in time from the 25th century to the present and taking on the identity of the Reverse Flash. That's from the comics.
Hmm.
The whole business of him assuming Dr. Harrison Wells' identity is completely new to the
Okay,
series.
great.
Wells is an original character, um, so it was obviously used to great effect to throw like longtime fans like myself
Hmm.
off, unless they were really paying attention. But that's just me bragging. Um, so, haha, I figured it out. Um,
Yay.
yay! Um, and the that it was a whole like new concept and the whole business where like they introduced what's called, I think the Kreisberg referred to in interviews as genetic camouflage
Hmm.
technology to assume Wells's identity there at the end. That's just completely new as well. But
Great.
I did like the fact that they introduced this actor named Matt Letcher or, as the 25th century Eoberthon, the original Eoberthon,
Hmm.
because he looks more like the comics version of the
Okay.
character. So that was nice. And then it kind of explained why the Reverse Flash doesn't look like his comics counterpart, which is only something geeks would worry about. Um, I did like with going back to Hamill. I love the kind of Silence of the Lambs vibe
Oh yes.
with him basically serving in the Dr. Hannibal Lecter role in
Hmm.
the in this quid pro quo back and forth between him and Joe and Barry. And with the whole business, like sending documents through. I don't remember there being Twizzlers in Silence of the Lambs, but
Product placement.
exactly, exactly. I gotta wonder how much the Twizzler company paid to get that on there. But it, it's not as blatant as like hey, let's go drive this Ford F-150 or
And
something.
it's got a great rear view camera.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it was very nice. Um, the you know I was gonna say we did get to. I mean, we did get yeah, at the beginning. I guess I keep jumping around, which is only makes sense for a time travel story. Um, we got a really good taste of the sequence of Nora Allen's death right off the
Hmm.
bat. I mean, we just dive right into the episode, and there's this super speed battle going on.
Right.
We get a little taste of the Flash versus the Reverse Flash, and then we get the whole explanation that with um, Thawne realizing that he's now trapped in the past,
Right.
which obviously if you're a time traveler and you want to get back to your time, is not the greatest thing. I'm guessing he doesn't have any plutonium or Mr. Fusion from Back to the Future, so that's not going to work. So he has to go through this whole machination of building a particle accelerator and creating the Flash so that he can use the Flash to power himself back to the 25th century and go back to the future. So that's his big master plan, apparently.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that master plan, but I'm not sure about time travel in general. So
That's okay, no problem. Um,
15 years, that's a lot of, well,
wait,
patience, like they said.
yeah, yeah, they did say that he was a very patient person, and this is proof of that. Um, I did like, Grant Gustin during this episode because following the events of last week's episode with Mason Bridges' death, Barry was always already a little suspicious of
Hmm.
Wells, um, who is just all kinds of shady and sneaky.
Right. And I
That
would say that was the second best. Besides how much fun this episode was, the
hmm
second best part of it for me was the continuation of Barry and Joe working together to try and figure out what Wells is up with. I thought that this pacing works really well for this series. I mean, they've done so much in so little time, but I was starting to feel like the Wells thing was dragging a little bit. And
hmm
so this whole part for the last 2 weeks has really jump started that for me. I'm glad that we've got
yeah.
some back information ourselves, and then we also see the characters starting to get suspicious too, and I think that's important for the pacing.
Yeah, I think they've had to do a very careful job of not overloading
Mhm.
and bombarding the audience with well stuff throughout the entire season. They've had to
Mhm.
like dole out little tidbits here. They had the mystery, they had the reveal, and then now we're getting into the nitty gritty, probably building up to the season finale
Right.
in May. But I just did. But I do agree that I think Jesse L. Martin is the show's secret weapon as Joe West
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
he gives it. He really brings gravitas to a lot of these scenes,
Hmm.
and he's so good with his mentorship of Barry
Right.
as
And
his
we see that.
surrogate father. Yeah,
Yeah.
as a
We see that when
stepfather.
he's talking about when Barry is pretty much runs away from the group, and
Hmm.
Joe kind of talks him down about how they see people differently and kind of reassures Barry that, who he is as just a decent human being, um, really is part of why people love him so much. I think it's the success of the show is that we've got Joe, who is the more serious, the more cynical
Hmm.
kind, and then you've got Barry, who is just so excited to be a superhero, and they work so well together. I think that this is the relationship that really is the key to Flash's success.
Right. And I agree about that with Barry because Barry Allen is such a positive, normally a such a positive, upbeat character.
Mhm.
He raises the level of optimism every time he interacts with someone,
Mhm.
especially like if they're having a personal crisis. He's not a doom and gloom character like Oliver Queen on Arrow.
Right.
He's like he's more like Superman. He's a much more positive, uplifting force,
Mhm.
and I think that's just one of the things that makes Barry, and especially in this TV series, so likable. The Now we did get some new power developments because Wells. There was a sequence where the Trickster slaps a bomb on the Flash's wrist, resetting the movie speed with the whole like don't drop below 600 miles an hour, um, and and of course Hamill gets to just ham it up, no pun intended, with this run 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 delivery. Um, the So to get rid of the bomb, Barry has to um, he, he's running and running, and he's worried that he can't keep going. So
Right.
Wells talks him through how to vibrate through solid objects to get rid of the bomb. Now this is an ability from the comics, and it's another tool in the Flash's arsenal that fans were just waiting to see, because normally he uses it to vibrate through walls or what have you. Um,
Now my
but
question is, if it
yeah,
vibrates and leaves the watch behind, how do the clothes go through?
well, generally because Barry has an aura around him, like anything in close contact to his skin.
Okay.
So anything he's holding generally, um, it's now the exact use of it is always left up, a little suspect to the writer. Um, More conveniently that he can just pass through and just leave the bomb there.
Mhm.
Maybe it's kind of like um, somehow he kind of pictures it in his mind. I don't know. I'm speculating that he would just kind of like, okay, I want to keep my clothes on, but I want to get rid of this bomb. So as he's passing through, everything but the bomb goes with him.
Okay.
So it's kind of like like if you saw the movie Ghostbusters.
Mhm.
Okay, and you remember where Slimer goes through the wall, and there is the food cart just comes crashing into the wall behind him because it can't pass through.
Mhm.
So kind of like that, I guess. That's my general pop culture analogy for the thing.
Good choice.
I hope that works. I just pulled that out of my butt. So um, let's see, and they also this is also the first mention of the concept of the Speed Force, which is this energy reservoir. It's not as fantastical as like the Star Wars, force, but um, it's generally like this like I said, it's like a reservoir that where Barry's super speed is drawn from.
Okay.
The whole business that matter or energy cannot be created nor destroyed; it only changes state.
Mhm.
Well, this is Barry's ability to draw from this energy source. Now, where that energy comes from in the beginning, who knows? But that's all. It's all comic booky. It's
Okay.
comic booky magic. But and then the big question though is And if I was Barry right off the bat, I'd be going, "Okay, Wells, how do you know how to do all this stuff?"
Oh, absolutely. But I think it was very smartly played by Barry, who's not always the most brilliant character. I mean,
Mhm. Right.
but it was smartly played that he brought that to Joe instead of talking about it right out loud, because I think Barry was having a hard time playing both sides.
Mhm. Yes.
And so I think that was part of, like, at the end where he can shake Wells' hand, and we know what's going on, and Wells is
Yes.
quite frankly suspicious, but
Right.
um,
I
he's
know that you
much
know that
better.
he knows that I know
Yes,
that you know. Yeah.
exactly. But I think he at least was trying at that point to maybe seem less suspicious.
Mhm.
And I think that was the first step in there, is that he knew something was wrong, but he took it to Joe instead.
Gotcha. I think that sounds great. That actually works for me. Um, I'll let- the um, the other big thing we got this episode was that Barry revealed his identity to both his father and to Eddie,
Yeah.
which was a very interesting choice of Eddie. I mean, you could see him confiding in his father,
Hmm.
Henry,
Well,
but
his father already knew pretty much. I mean,
he
he
suspected.
said it
Yeah,
basically.
but I mean, he Barry revealed, just took away any confusion he might have had,
Okay.
but probably didn't. Uh, but I thought the Eddie thing was very surprising.
It shocked me. It's my biggest shock of the episode.
Hmm.
And it's getting an award from me for that.
That
So,
that says and that says a lot, considering the whole thing where we get the full explanation of um,
well,
Thawne, causing
mhm,
the car crash that kills Wells's wife,
mhm,
and assuming Wells's identity and killing him, the real Wells.
right.
So that's
Yeah.
just
Do
yeah.
you think there's nothing of Wells left in him? I
That's
wasn't
a good
quite sure on that.
that's a good question. I mean, you would think he would have his memories.
Right, because he was able to do all of the
Yeah, unless he.
building of Star Labs and everything that Wells was planning.
Now we don't know. I mean, it could be that with Thawne being such a from the future, and then maybe this is all like this is anachronistic, antique old timey stuff to him. So this is just
Mhm.
child's play to him. But the you would think maybe he did have 15 years to do research.
Right,
So
that
it's
is
not
true.
like it's not like he couldn't have got, especially with super speed abilities. It's not like he couldn't go
Right.
back and and research every aspect of Wells's identity.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's but you do pose an interesting little metaphysical question about whether if there's still some of Wells left in Thawne now. Is there some good in you?
Right.
Is it
Exactly. Because,
there's some
he seems
sense?
to be, I know that his whole persona is an act, but
Right.
he seems to have moments of really truly caring about the people that he's with, especially Cisco. But,
Even though he killed him.
right. Oh, yes, we can't. That was my review last week. But yeah,
But
it just seems like there are some moments where he just is genuine. And I don't know if we're supposed to think that Vaughn is completely evil, or he's one of those gray area things,
right.
or if there's some wells still left in him. I don't know. It's just, that was one of my biggest questions about this episode.
Yeah. I that is definitely something to ponder. Now, whether we're actually going to find out any of that is a good question, and maybe it'll just be something that gets tossed to the side or ignored.
Maybe.
But
It's fanfic boy.
it's true, exactly. If nothing else, it'll show up on fanfiction.net or something. Yeah, so it'll happen. Um, so overall, what did you give this episode as far as like a 10 score rating?
Well, it got a B, A minus B plus for me, and it may be the show
Okay,
of the week. So,
okay,
I would say 8.5. out
Okay,
of
that sounds
10
good.
would be where
That's
I'd be at.
that's good. I give this one because it appealed to just about every little bit of fan in me. So I was a little more generous. This was everything I wanted in a Flash episode. So I actually gave this 10 out of 10, which is
Woohoo!
huge for me. Yeah, 10 out of 10 Trickster bombs. I thought this was like loved. I love this episode. I want more like this. I mean, we had like it's kind of interesting because just 2 episodes ago we had the out of time episode where um, the show dropped everything in the kitchen sink on us right there at the last 10 minutes,
Yep.
to great effect. And then, of course, most of it was hit the reset button in the
Hmm.
following week. So it's good to see that things are back on an upswing,
Right.
and hopefully that momentum carries all the way through the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on. We really talked about this one, so we're gonna try and make up a little clock here. We're gonna move on to iZombie.
All right.
Uh,
Great.
this is the third episode of the first season, The Exterminator. Written by Graham Norris and Leah Arcuri, directed by Michael Fields, and this is also another fun episode.
Hmm.
This is a very quirky show, but that's one of the
Yes,
reasons I really dig this show. It's a lot of fun,
it
and
is. This is
and it's
one
a
of the good. This is one of the best mid-season premieres for me. I just really like a lot about this show, and the fact that it is campy and fun. And Liv is a complete shock to me.
yeah, in a good way.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
she's funny and smart, and she gets to change her personality every episode, so she never gets boring.
which, as an actor, I gotta think Rose McIver loves that aspect of the character because it allows her to
Mhm.
do so many different things.
Oh, absolutely.
She's not really playing the same character week to week because there's always these little brain variations of
Hmm.
that one week, she's got kleptomania, the next week she's an artist, and now here she's a sociopathic hitman. So
Which she does well.
yes, she does very well. Yeah, because we, we find out that the Liv, her whole brain meal of the week, is an exterminator that turns out to be a hitman. Surprise, with antisocial personality disorder. So that's a little awkward.
Oh, yeah, especially since they thought he was just, what, a salesman? Was that what it was?
Hmm?
So, I thought the whole thing was a lot of fun because it shocked me in a whole lot of ways. This is probably the most shocking episode for me
Hmm.
this week because I never expected them to go to Liv killing someone so soon.
Right. I totally agree because I got that whole introduction of the full zombie mode.
Hmm.
Like you kind of thought that would pay off a little longer down the road.
Right.
Be a
And for it
slow
to
build.
be Marcy.
Right. It's boom. It's already in play.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. Um, so yeah, Liv becomes numb with emotional detachment. Uh, in the week, in the wake of last week's horribly epic fail of trying to rekindle things with Major,
Yes.
that just went horribly, horribly wrong.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you're not a big Major fan.
No, I really love Major. I think Major's too good for this situation right now.
Oh, I see. He's too good for Liv, is what you're saying.
Right now, I think she's got to work some stuff out before they jump
Okay.
into a romance again.
See, if I'm shipping anybody in this, I'm shipping Liv with Dr. Ravi.
I don't ship.
You
So,
don't ship?
no,
Okay,
I don't.
okay. See, Karen likes to live with Major, so she's hoping that gets
Ah,
worked out eventually. So that's our slight little conflict we have.
ooh. Well, it'd
Ooh,
probably be her. So, sorry.
prob- probably. Um, yeah. Now, meanwhile, Ravi and Liv they go to investigate this zombie sighting, and they find, like you said, they find Liv's friend Marcy from the booze cruise, stuck in a pit. I'm kind of curious how she got down there.
Yeah, me too.
Did someone put her there because there was like planks over where she was, like
Right.
someone's keeping her there. Maybe it was Blaine.
That was
Or,
my original guess.
yeah, because we don't really have any other bad guys yet.
Right.
At least recurring bad guys, I should say.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, Marcy went full zombie here. She's like Walking Dead zombie.
And green.
And green and like hungry, like Hungry Jack Hungry. Um, and an interesting you know take because of her current personality is that she thinks that Marcy just needs to die right off the bat as
Hmm.
soon as she sees her. And Ravi's like, no, 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 we need to study her. Maybe we can just feed her some brains and she'll revert back to normal.
So the scientist versus the pragmatist.
Right. Right. And I can see him wanting to try that, which is
Yeah.
which is good because you don't want to just kill Marcy if you could bring
And
her
save her.
back,
Right.
save her.
Absolutely.
So he tries that, but it doesn't work. Um,
Yeah.
does you get the price? You get the Prices Right fail music with that one. The bum 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 bum. Bum.
And then he falls in, which was of
Yeah,
zero surprise at all.
right. Because he's standing there like trying to. He's got his whole sampler thing on a stick, and he's trying to like, okay, I'm going to get my sampler here, and then dope falls into the pit, which you knew was going to happen.
Oh yeah, that
As soon
was not so smart of the smart guy on the show.
right. And interestingly, Liv just kind of pauses for a minute. She doesn't jump right in after him.
Yeah, and that I think is part of why the eating brains and taking on
Yeah.
someone's personality works for this show,
Right.
because we needed to see some conflict.
Yeah, there was definitely that little added bit of drama where you're like, is she gonna go in after him? Hopefully.
She has to, because this is the main character in there.
Right.
But I
We're not
mean, I
gonna
was thinking he's not going to be a zombie too, right?
yeah, so but she eventually dives in and just completely goes full zombie mode herself
Hmm.
and takes out Marcy with a
Very
rock.
intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Marcy meet Rock, Marcy dies. So all right. Meanwhile, we had like a fun little sequence with Liv and Babineau going to a bar, a cop bar, I believe,
Hmm.
if I remember right, and they had trivia night.
Because
And
every cop bar has trivia night.
of course, and they actually have this like beautiful showgirl presenter doing the trivia night, which I thought was a little over the top, but okay. But I did like their team name, Piggy in the Brain.
That was
So
fun too.
if you're a fan of the old Pinky in the Brain cartoon, you just laughed hard at that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
Rob Thomas. Gotta love that guy.
exactly. Now, see, I was never a big Veronica Mars fan, although I
Really?
know, I know people. I know. You can feel free to give me crap about it because I get it.
It
Maybe
was
now
awesome. Everybody should try it out.
maybe now that I've been watching iZombie, maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Because there's a lot of people that says, yeah, you need to watch Veronica Mars. What is wrong with you? Um, so maybe I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm digging the vibe, and so yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and actually get around to watching that finally. Um, and I do like the cheeky tongue or the tongue in cheek humor here. I
Mhm.
really enjoy that. Um,
And that's just
now
Veronica Mars too.
exactly. We also had while trying to solve the murders of finding out like who killed the hitman and his target and what or that Liv accidentally screws up her roommate Peyton's legal case,
Yes. And she was
which
so excited about it.
yeah, that went over just really well, really well. Um, and Liv, of course, having went nom
No
nom nom
empathy.
on sociopath brains. She's just completely detached about it. Doesn't feel bad at all initially,
Mhm.
although eventually she does have remorse and tries to figure out a way to make it work, which she does.
Right.
So
Which is good
so that
because
so that Peyton's happy, Babineau's happy, and the bad guys are in jail.
Yep. And she still has a roommate because it was looking there for a while like they were not going to be roommates for much longer.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that this was well done, and very much moving forward the mythos of the show.
Yeah. We did get a little bit more of Blaine, although not too much. He got himself a nice little kid from the skate park who was looking for one of his friends,
Hmm.
and they just kind of went off together. So presumably Blaine is going to, because he's apparently, I'm guessing the kid's not rich,
No,
so Blaine's just probably going to
so
eat
I
his
don't know.
brains.
I'm thinking that he's starting his own zombie horde, and that the missing kid is part of Blaine too.
So you don't think he's just using the rich widows or whatever to make zombies? He's using everybody he can get a hold of to make zombie army.
Well, I think that the rich widow is the funding for the zombie horde. He needs
Okay.
money, and then the poor street kids are the ones that aren't going to be missed, and therefore he can create his army that way, kind of thing. At least that's the way I'm leaning. But really,
No,
it's a way to get Major significantly into the show
that's
because
that
he
works
is
for me.
basically their, I don't know, counselor.
Okay.
So
No, that works because you're right that Major isn't really, he's kind of like in his own little story orbit
right.
off by himself, and he
Hmm.
needs to be brought in like everybody else. So I agree that's a good way to do that.
So if he
Uh,
starts taking runaways from the street, and that's who Major is mostly working with, then
hmm
you've got him continually tied into the overall myth arc of the story.
Very observant. I applaud your observational skills on that one because I totally agree with that. And speaking as a writer, yeah, that's exactly how I would do it too. So that works for me. Um, Now, meanwhile, Liv has her falling out with Blaine, who she realizes, thankfully, right off the bat, is pretty shady.
Right.
And she says, "No, no, no, no! You don't get brains from the morgue. That's that's not happening. So you're gonna have to fend for yourself, there, Sparky."
And it's David Anders, so we already knew he was going to be the bad guy as soon as he got cast. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a huge fan of Alias back in the day.
Hmm.
So just I always see him as, I know he's on Once Upon a Time and all that, but always see him as Sark. So it's like every time I see him, he's going to be the villain. I know it's coming. I just brace for it,
Hmm.
and he's so far. I like that there's a little bit more of a slow burn because we're only in the third episode. We don't want
Right.
everything right off the bat.
Right.
Um, and because I think we're only getting 13 episodes because this is a mid-season replacement,
Correct.
if um, that things will come to a head pretty quickly, I'm
Mm.
presuming. So a lot faster than you would in a normal 22 or 23 episode season.
Right. Right.
So what did you rate this episode?
And this one is a B plus for me, so I would probably give it 8 on there.
Okay.
I thought it was very good. I liked it better than the last episode, but not as
Mm-hmm.
well as the pilot.
I agree. I give it 8.5 out of 10 zombies in a pit. And yeah, I did like this episode just a bit better than last week's. Although, yeah, the pilot's still my favorite of the three so far.
Mhm.
So I'm right there with you. Okay, now we're going to shift gears into something that Dawn isn't exactly comfortable with. We're going to do Agents of Shield.
Yeah, I caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I caught up with the last 5 episodes specifically for this
Okay.
podcast.
Okay. Okay. So okay. Yeah.
I am caught
Okay.
up, but I might be confusing some episodes because I did watch 5
No,
of them in a row.
no, it's all a big blur, probably.
Yes, it is.
Um, Now, this episode I thought was a little better than some previous episodes have been.
Mhm.
Uh, we did get a nice little flashback to the events after Captain America: The Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
where with the big, like, oh, guess what? Shield's been infiltrated by Hydra. So
We
look
got
out.
Hartley back.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
did.
come on.
Yep. Yeah, Lucy Lawless was killed off
Way too early.
earlier, like at the end of last season, I believe.
Yeah, either end of
Yeah,
last season or early
yeah.
this season. One of
I
the
think she was killed. I think she was killed off late last season by Bill Paxton's
Mm-hmm.
character,
You're right.
uh, John Garrett. But now, yeah, we get to see her again, and she's actually gets to do stuff this time.
Yeah, she was
As
awesome.
she was, and we get a little mini Battlestar Galactica reunion with her
Mm-hmm.
and Edward James Olmos
Oh yeah.
as Admiral Adama. I mean, Robert Gonzalez, because he's essentially the same character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personality wise, which is great because and you want somebody to be like Admiral Adama. Who better to get than Admiral Adama himself,
Very true.
Edward James Olmos, and just he's saying we're gonna take back the ship, and that's just right out of the Battlestar Galactica. I love that. Yeah, we got a nice little sequence with Mockingbird uh, slash Bobby
Who?
Morse.
Okay.
Yeah, uh, that's her superhero name
Bobby, got it.
yeah, Mockingbird,
I
Bobby
love
Morse.
Bobby.
I'll refer to her as Bobby to make things a little simpler. Because in the comics she's actually Hawkeye's wife, and
Oh,
then they divorce, and then they get remarried again, and then they divorce again.
is
So
that
that's
Hunter then?
that's essentially Lance Hunter in this series is fulfilling the Hawkeye role
Okay.
because we don't get to see Jeremy Renner for some reason. So it is
Too
Marvel. You
expensive.
think probably, probably, probably. Um, so yeah, we sort of get that bit with Lance Hunter, and then we had Mac, and they're all rescuing Gonzalez on the Iliad while fighting off Hydra agents, and that was really cool. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Uh,
think that was the best part of the episode to me was the flashbacks and just seeing how this team came
mhm.
together and worked together.
Now, were you surprised at how the show has progressed since you stopped watching, or
Yeah, actually, I have been. I
in a
am
good way or a bad way? It's okay if you either way. I'm
both.
just
Some
okay.
things I like better than I was imagining, and some
Okay.
things I'm like, oh no.
That's okay. That's okay. So
So
I'm guessing you aren't a fan of the Sky developments.
I hate Sky as a character. And quite frankly, I am actually Team Bobby and Mac more than Team Colson. So
Oh, oh. So you want the quote unquote real Shield to be the real Shield.
I want there not to be two shields.
Okay. Well, so do I. So we're good there.
I
But,
just think
but
that Coulson in season one
hmm
was better than Coulson as the leader of all things is. I just liked him better in season one than I do now. So, and I think that the Team Bobby and Mac, I don't even know what they're called at this point, but I
team
think
back,
that
team back. I don't know.
Team Back, okay. So Team Back, I think, makes some very good points about Coulson and his leadership. So I am
Yeah.
completely different from everybody in the fandom, except that I still think that May is the best character ever written. So,
Yes. Yeah. Once again, Ming Na Wen proves that she can be such a badass
mhm,
as Agent May. Because for a while there, it was just her hiding out alone, having everybody else
yeah,
captured but me. And then she gets a cool fight with Mockingbird slash Bobby. Sorry,
mhm.
I keep going Mockingbird because
You
it's
can
in my
go with
head.
that. I
All right.
understand now who they are.
Okay. Okay. May and Bobby fight in a really excellent fight
Yes,
sequence.
it was the
They're just
best
they're just
action sequence of the week.
they're just wailing on each other, going to town, no hold barred. They're both after the toolbox MacGuffin. That's basically what it is, right? It's a
It is
MacGuffin.
totally.
It's a MacGuffin. Um, and they're fighting over this little toolboxy thing and just going to town, and it's just
Square.
you really have no idea who's going to win the fight. So
Right.
that thought that was really
And I think
impressive.
that was great too because May has always been this outstanding, fabulous kick butt female warrior. And
Hmm.
so usually when she goes up against someone, I know she's going to win. But with Bobby, because she is also equally kick butt awesome, it was
Yeah.
fantastic to have this big old fight that I've kind of been looking forward to ever since I realized that Bobby was not going to be, well, ever since I realized they
Yeah.
were going to sacrifice Bobby's character to Sky and Coulson.
Well, the thing is though, the actress has now been made a regular character on the show. She's
Yeah,
been she got
that.
she got upgraded.
But is that going to
So,
be true for season 3?
well, I don't know. That's a good, it's a good question. Um, you know, in the way they're developing Sky with her quake powers,
Mhm.
is essentially they reveal that the character's real name is Daisy Johnson.
Mhm.
Now, that's a thing's taken from the comics, where Daisy Johnson was created long before Sky was created for the show,
Mhm.
and she had these like earthquake powers as one of Nick Fury's Shield lieutenants.
Right.
She was essentially like one of his proteges,
Mhm.
and she had these abilities. So when they created Sky and revealed that she was Daisy Johnson, I knew that they were going to go down this road probably, and they're tying her into the upcoming Inhumans movie down
I
the road.
totally knew it was a movie. I knew it.
There is, yep, yeah, it's basically the whole business with where she in this episode where she hooks up with the teleporting guy Gordon,
Mhm.
and he says, "Well, I can offer you a sanctuary," and most likely, considering the way they've explained it with the whole mists that gave Sky her powers, that's a reference to the Terrigen mists from the Inhumans comics, and that create these kind of mutated characters with superpowers. Um, so yeah, they're tying it. They're basically setting up like a crossover with the Inhumans down the road. So probably Gordon has taken Sky presumably to a place called Adelan, which is the home of the Inhumans.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Well, I knew as
So
soon as Jenna started segregating the
mm,
different people with powers, I'm like, okay, there's some movie tie-in going on in here, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's something.
yeah, and Marvel's already announced an Inhumans movie, so it's just a matter of time that they can play the long game. They've proven that.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're just teasing that, and like eventually you go, oh hey, I remember when Sky got her powers, and oh, and now she's connected to the Inhumans. How lovely! So yeah,
Yeah.
that whole thing. Yeah, that whole thing. I know it's like if you're not a really diehard comics geek, you won't care about that at all, probably. Um, now, let's see. So what we're left with essentially is the real Shield, quote air quotes, like the Doctor Evil air quotes, real Shield. Um, takes control of the headquarters. They've got Fitz and Simmons, and they've got May in custody only because May's surrendered herself,
Mhm.
because she's like the Wolverine of the group. There's no way you're gonna catch her unless she wants to be caught,
Right.
because she's awesome.
Of course.
Uh, of course. And meanwhile, you've got Sky at the end trashing a forest with her quake powers, just demolishing that thing because they're trying to capture her,
Mhm.
and she gets rescued by Gordon. And meanwhile, while all this is going on, Coulson retreats to a nice tropical island, which I kind of
Tahiti.
wonder. I wondered exactly. I was wondering if that was Tahiti where he went at, which I thought would have been hilarious if they had revealed that, but they didn't.
Exactly.
So it's like the last place to look for me is Tahiti. So he hooks up with Lance Hunter there, and they have a drink with some cutesy little umbrellas in it, and they plan their retaliation. Dun dun dun.
Mhm.
That's what's going on. So that's what we're left with. Um, so what did you give this episode?
I like this episode better because it had more action, and I'm
Okay.
really into action. But the just the storyline of Shield and where it's going and its focus is not my thing. So this is a 6 for me.
Okay. Fair enough. I give this one a little more generous. I was a little more generous. I gave this one 8.5 out of 10 because I love the flashback sequence.
Mhm.
Um, so I give this 8.5 out of 10 Nick Fury toolboxes.
MacGuffins.
MacGuffins, exactly. And for those of you like who aren't familiar with the term, MacGuffins is a plot device used to advance the story in some way. So there you go. Um, that's what a MacGuffin means. So now we're going to move on to Powers
Mhm.
on the Sony PlayStation Network.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, which is this has been a little frustrating show for me. This is probably my least favorite of the five right now.
Second least for me.
Second least for you.
Mm.
Um, now I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking as a comics fan of the Powers comics by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Emming that
Mhm.
the show was based, because it diverges so much from the
Oh,
comics. Especially in tone,
okay.
because in the comics it's a very dark noir feel to the show. It's a lot, and it's depicted in the comics as in shadows a lot, and it's a much more like a mysterious type show.
All right.
So this show is like in bright sunny LA, where everybody like you've got Charlton Copley's character walk Gabriel or Christian Walker walking around in sunglasses, and he's complaining about his not having powers all the time.
Yeah, I called him a complete whiny douche.
Yeah, he basically is a whiny douche. This version, the one in the comic, is much more stoic and like
Mm-hmm.
could care less about his powers,
All
not
right.
having them anymore. So I don't know why they went this route, but it's very frustrating, especially when every episode he's whining about not having his powers.
Right. And then
It's like, please
also,
get over it, move
yeah.
on with life.
And it almost feels like at the end of this that he's going to try and keep Wolf alive with powers just so that he could possibly get his back, which
Right.
is like, what? What kind of plan is this?
Yep. She and with Dina Pilgrim as partner in the comics, she's a much more like Spitfire, snarky,
Mhm.
essentially like like the old classic Buffy
Mhm.
Summers, where she was throwing one-liners.
Love that.
Only in the comics she would be dropping f-bombs along with those one-liners. Because she's basically like if you had a traditional Irish cop in Boston and he had a daughter who also became a cop, that would be Dina Pilgrim.
Okay.
Okay, so that's in the comics. This version is a bit more subdued. We get a little bit of more of her background
Mhm.
with the introduction of her father.
Right. And I thought that
Uh,
was interesting. I mean, he's
yeah,
a corrupt cop and she is not. So,
exactly. Um, yeah, because he's drinking, he's carrying on with the other cops because they're holding like a memoriam
right.
gathering for four cops that were killed in previous week's episode
Mhm.
by Wolf, and three of them, which is another thing that comic book fans would get. They're references to comic book creators.
Ah,
Like the cops' names are Golden, Chaikin, Mac, and Argentina or Argento. Now the first three uh, are references to Michael Golden, a comics artist, Howard Chaikin, a comics artist and writer, and David Mack, an artist that Brian Bendis has worked with
okay.
on Daredevil. So I thought that was nice little nods, I guess. Again, it's something for the fans. But Pilgrim's father is just like he's throwing out the old war stories of when he was back in the day fighting powers as a cop, and he gets drunk and he's kind of making an ass of himself.
Mhm.
And Dean is just over in the corner going, "Really, Dad? Really?"
You're embarrassing me at work with my
Uh,
work friends.
exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, Dad. You're embarrassing me for for reals. Um, the so meanwhile you've got Zora, the celebrity wannabe,
Yeah.
showing up basically for just autographs and photo ops.
Establishing her,
Yeah, yeah, trying to get her
trademark.
some cred, like
Mhm.
retro girl type cred.
Yep.
Um,
Who is
but
also there.
who was also there, but actually, working it the way that it should be worked,
Right.
and actually expressing some form of sympathy, whether she feels it or not, she's expressing it.
And she's the only one in the whole thing, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everybody else is just like, getting drunk griping about stuff.
Yeah.
Because meanwhile, you had Trip Hammer,
Hmm.
the kind of Iron Man esque superhero of the show.
Hmm.
He gets drunk and sitting in one of his drainer cells, and but he reveals, that the drainers were developed to deal with some possible threat down the road, which
Hmm.
was vaguely referred to as a black swan.
Right.
So presumably, I don't know, is that got to be the season finale?
It's
We
almost
don't know.
got to be at this point.
There's only 4 more episodes, so they
Right.
better they better get this rolling if they're going to do it, unless they're going to save it for season 2.
So Black Swan is not a comic thing then.
Not really.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're going with this one.
All right.
And meanwhile, we had Johnny Royale, everybody's favorite skeevy guy, because ew. Um,
Who's also
he,
whining about his life.
yeah, he's got this drug he's created that gives people superpowers called Sway, but it's not doing exactly what he expected it to,
Hmm.
and it's affecting people differently. So he grabs one of his buddies, the kind of bald assistant guy who can replicate bodies,
Hmm.
Simons, and grabs one of those guys and tries to somehow teleport the drug out of his system. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, good. I'm glad because I
Because he's
didn't either.
basically because he's basically like Nightcrawler bamfing back and forth, boop 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 boop, and somehow that's supposed to get it out of him. I don't know
I thought he was
how.
trying to cut it out of him while teleporting, and I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Maybe maybe I wasn't paying close enough to that attention to that scene, but it just struck me as a kind of like, why does he think he could teleport that thing out of there?
Maybe
But
it was a centrifuge thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't somehow he expected to get this out of there, but he's just griping because now he's like, I don't know what it does now.
My
I,
whole plan is ruined, and now I have to go into hiding. And oh, poor
yep,
me! And I'm gonna take the brat with me.
yep. Yeah, speaking of Callista, um, they, her, this boy she's hooked up with, Crispin,
Mm-hmm.
he's, they're kind of being all kissy kissy and cuddly, snuggly, and then all of a sudden Crispin gets a little text or video text or message from his gal pal, Chaotic Chick,
Yeah.
who tells him that she's edited this video to make it look like people died because of a hero, and
Yeah, she's
and
got to be in some kind of counter group thing. I don't even
she,
know what her deal
yeah,
is.
yeah, and then Callista kind of overhears some of this, and she's like,
Storms out.
yeah, I'm out of here, see ya. So sorry about your luck, Crispin, but you're
You're
not
not
getting that
getting any.
star. Nope, not at all. That's a bad move on your part, my friend. But and meanwhile, we end up there, wrap up the episode with Wolf jumping on live TV because hey, mass murderers are always big celebrities, and say, oh, because of what happened these during the previous two-parter,
Hmm.
I now realize all the horrible things that I've done. So please kill me.
At least he wasn't whining about it.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't winning about it, which is good.
He's the
Uh,
only one.
yeah, yeah. So of all the people that have their act together, it's Wolf in this, which says a lot about the show. So,
I did
so
think that there was some good stuff to this one, but this one was kind of the, I guess, epilogue to the high action one.
mhm,
And so it felt like a little bit of a letdown. Watched 3 of these together in marathon form too. So out of the
okay,
3 that I watched, this particular episode was the worst of the 3 I watched.
right,
So
right. Yeah, the two-parter was pretty good because
Hmm.
it was essentially like you've got a prison break episode, so it's
Right.
always exciting because you're like, oh, can we stop the supervillain from getting out of the prison
Hmm.
and murdering all these people? But so that was interesting at least. This is the aftermath, so it's a bit of a come down,
Yeah.
and it kind of showed in this episode.
Well, I mean, you've got everybody who's basically just whining about their life. It just doesn't
Right.
feel like a superhero show.
It's very neurotic,
Yes. Yes.
and
So,
not in a good way. So
you know.
yeah, yeah. So what did you give the raconteur of the funeral circuit, which I just think is a great title?
This one's a little bit harder for me because I did watch all three together. So,
Mhm.
um, I would say 6.57 ish.
Okay. I gave this one 7 out of 10 drunk guys in drainer cells.
Very cool.
Thank you. Okay, lastly, we're gonna hit another show um, that Dawn is not exactly tight with these days.
Nope, dropped it after the first
So
episode of this season.
so I'll try and get through this pretty quickly because I don't want to bore you with the arrow stuff.
Take
But
your time.
we'll just rattle right through it. Feel free to jump in and correct me if you or add some thoughts if you wish. Let's put it that
Okay.
way. Okay.
I hate
Uh,
Merlin.
really? Who
Yes,
hates John Barrowman?
I do.
He's John Barrowman. He's awesome.
I hate that
He's hilarious.
character. He's one of the
Ah,
reasons I dropped it.
oh well, he's not. He wasn't in last week's or last night's episode or
Oh,
Wednesday's episode, I should say. So you can probably watch that one if you're not don't like Merlin.
I have some
Uh,
Felicity, so.
oh, yeah, well, we're still with Felicity being tight with Ray Palmer, the Atom.
Mm.
So played by Brandon Routh, who played Superman in
Superman.
Superman in Returns. Exactly, yeah. Or he was really cool in Scott Pilgrim versus the World too. So that's
I forgot
that's
that
a
show.
that's another great movie that I highly recommend. This is Public Enemy, written by showrunner Mark Guggenheim, with Wendy Miracle, and directed by Dwight Little. And then it follows up on last week's cliffhanger of the assassination of Starling City Mayor by Masao Yamashiro, who is posing as the Arrow, so that the Arrow, oh, guess what, gets blamed for killing the mayor. And then meanwhile, you've got Detective Lance, Laurel, and Sarah's father, who is now in charge of the Starling City PD, ordering a manhunt for the Arrow and saying he's still feeling hurt and bitter over the fact that Laurel and Oliver kept Sarah's death from him.
Mm.
Yeah, so he's a little burned by that. And why they did that earlier in the season, I have no idea. I thought it was really stupid of not being right up front with them and saying, "Oh, by the way, you know your daughter that you thought was dead but wasn't dead. Well, guess what? She's really dead now."
And she's not coming back.
Yeah. But well, actually, she might because Katie
Oh,
Lotz is
joy.
going to be on the new Arrow Flash spinoff series with Brandon Routh and a bunch of other cool people. So,
Prequel?
whether- uh, could be a prequel, could be a sequel
Hmm.
because of a certain little thing called Lazarus Pits
Oh,
that
joy.
that with Ra's al Ghul,
Hmm.
because Roz is the big bad of the season, played by Matt Nable. He's kind of a little bit in this episode. Mostly, it's him behind the scenes, moving chess pieces, but
Hmm.
um, he's essentially the big bad of the season, and his whole plan. Because I'm gonna explain this to you because he hasn't really, you haven't been watching, but his whole plan is that he wants Oliver to be his successor as the head of the League of Assassins.
Ah.
Okay. Okay. But,
Instead of his
Aaron,
daughter?
yeah, exactly. Instead
Hmm.
of Nissa, his daughter. And Oliver's like, no, sorry, not interested. I have to protect Starling City. So sorry about your luck. But Roz is like, well, guess what? I'll just turn the city against you because it's very easy.
Mhm.
And then you'll be forced to become my successor because you'll have nowhere else to run.
Uh-huh.
So this is what his big game plan is, and he's in the middle of it.
So he saw Batman.
So yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, he's a Batman villain that was brought
Okay.
in. So
That
yeah,
explains
it's
some
basically
stuff.
exactly. He's yeah, because if you remember, I don't know if you saw the movie Batman Begins with Liam Neeson
Mhm.
as Ra's al Ghul. So it's the same guy,
Okay.
only tweaked a little differently for TV.
Mhm.
So um, and we get Ray Palmer, the Atom. Well, he uh, he was also wounded in the attack on the mayor. He gets an arrow right in the chest.
Yeah.
Um,
Is he a good guy or
and
bad guy?
he's a good guy.
Okay, that's good to
Uh,
know.
he's a good guy that's written very poorly on the show
Ah. Yeah, I
because
know a lot of people hate him.
yeah he's written as kind of a douche, and
Ah.
comics fans are very frustrated by this because Ray Palmer is like one of the Justice League of America. He's like one of the top DC heroes,
Mm.
and they want to see him portrayed better. It's nothing against Brandon Routh. I
Right.
think it's mostly against the writers
Mhm.
for writing this way.
Well, and he's
At
with
least,
Felicity, so people are unhappy
yeah,
there too.
exactly. Well, there's some Felicity developments,
Mm.
um, because Felicity, we get to see her mom come back, Mama
Oh.
Smoke. She returns and she encourages Felicity. She's got this technology of rays that of these little nanite robots that can go into bloodstream and break up this blood clot that's
Mhm.
threatening to kill Ray because he's
Oh.
got a blood clot in his brain, and the doctors can't do anything supposedly. So the only way to save his life is with this technology that Ray invented. Well, she's like, I don't know if I should do that. Um, Not really my thing, but her mom says, if you want to save his life, it's up to you. You better do it. So she does that. The treatment works. They fix the blood clot in Ray's brain. Ray, while he's recovering, he tells Felicity that he loves her. Just
Mm.
flat out tells her. But Felicity does not share the same sentiment and says nothing.
Mhm. But at
And
least the
so,
little robot nanobites didn't turn Ray evil.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Not yet. No, just kidding. Uh, just kidding. Um, so Felicity goes outside the room and cries because she's been crying a lot this season.
I heard.
Yeah, and not really a fan. I want the old snarky, happy.
Technology
What's
competent?
like? Yeah, exactly. I want the like the funny tech girl back. I
Mhm.
don't want crying over doomed relationships.
Season 1
Uh,
Felicity was the best.
Yes. Season two was also good, but
Yep.
definitely not digging season three Felicity. Yeah, she confesses to her mom about that she doesn't feel the same for Ray. So, and then she cries on her shoulder. But she, in a very funny moment for me, because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan.
Mhm.
Um, she mentions to her mother that Ray, like, because Felicity, being Felicity, has to throw out awkward geek references every so often.
Mhm.
So she mentions that Ray is a Doctor Who fan that knows plots of stories for all 34 seasons of Doctor Who, which I just thought was great because it's like, hey, Ray's just like me. He's a Doctor Who fan. So I was very appreciative of that. Um, Meanwhile, the back to the whole manhunt for Oliver. Um, we had this pretty good sequence as Lance and the cops are chasing Oliver, Roy, and Laurel as Black Canary through the city streets, and eventually Quentin Lance corners his daughter and says, "Oh, like still acting a bit hurt about why he didn't." she didn't confide in him.
Hmm.
But then Laura was rescued by Nissa Al Ghul. That
Oh, so she's
who she's
back.
Yeah, Nissa's back, and she's been training Laurel because Laurel is kind of sucked as a superhero.
Well, she
She's
has
not
she has no background in it.
exactly. So Nissa's kind of upgrading her skills,
Okay.
which is good. So that's at least they're addressing the fact that Laurel just can't come out of like law school and fight crime.
Right, and that's realistic, so that's a good
Ex-
thing on their part.
Yeah, it is. And then we got a brief Hong Kong flashback, which sole purpose was just to say, oh, by the way, Shadow, who was dead back in season 2, she actually has a sister that looks exactly like her, played by the same actress, Selena Jones.
Well, at least no one's rising from the dead yet, so
So they went the whole soap opera route with like, oh, by the way, character's dead. Here's her twin sister that looks just like her.
is she evil?
Not yet, not as far as we can tell.
Okay. That's sad.
So yeah, not one of their finest moments. The writing has been pretty disappointing this 3rd season.
I think that
Um,
they've had some issues
it's
for a
it's
long
been
time.
it's been a little bit of a downward slide. I mean, there were you know sometimes you get really great Arrow episodes, but then you get some that just you just slap your head and you're going, what are you doing?
Hmm.
And it's even frustrating if for someone like me who is a writer that like I can see where they went wrong.
Hmm.
I can just like little tidbits of like why didn't you do it this way, and it's very frustrating. I still watch the show because I enjoy the characters, but it's very frustrating this season. I'm hoping they turn things around.
I gotta say that Arrow for me is all about James Bamford, the stunt coordinator. To be totally honest, from
Yep.
mid-season, from Morris trial on,
Mm, right.
it has only been about the stunts for me
Yeah,
because it went
they do have some
ridiculous
great
from there.
sequences. Yeah, they do have some great action sequences, and this
Hmm.
episode is no nothing different because there is a great chase sequence here,
Good.
and we do get a bit of the end where like Oliver. Well, there's the big developments in this episode where that Lance Quentin Lance goes right on television and exposes Oliver's identity as the Arrow.
Really?
Really, really. So
Oh.
so this could be like the end of his secret identity forevers. And um, so Oliver feels forced to. He's like, okay, I'm turning myself in.
Huh?
He takes he takes the bullet. Well, he doesn't want to. Like they're accusing me of this murder. I
Hmm.
don't want to have the cops keep pursuing my friends.
Okay.
So I'm going to surrender myself.
That's fine.
That's his. He's being a little bit noble in what he's doing.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
Oliver.
no, but that's what he's doing.
Good.
Um, and while he's in custody, they move him, I guess, to some other county prison or something in the process. Like they got him in a SWAT van or something. But in the process, Roy swoops in, and this is the
Hmm.
cliffhanger, drops down, stops the SWAT van, and the cops surround him, and Roy pulls off his hood, reveals himself, and says, "Oh, by the way, like for Oliver's not the murderer, I am." So Roy
Of
takes the bullet
course.
for Oliver, and that's where we're left.
Okay.
Cliff cliffhanger.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So I won't ask you to review this episode because you didn't watch it, but that would be a little odd.
Yes.
Uh, so I'm gonna just say that I gave this one just for the fact that I really enjoyed the action sequences, and I have to give some points for claiming Ray Palmer as a Whovian. So as a Doctor Who fan, so represent. I give this one 8 out of 10 blood clot removing nanites. So, so that about so that's about it. I know we're a little long, but
Sorry.
I no, it's probably me. I'm the long-winded one, so it's pure my fault. You were perfect.
Oh, well, thank you.
You were awesome, Don. Uh, I really appreciate it.
Well, I
Uh,
appreciate you letting me come on and talk about it, even though I have no idea about anything comics.
no problem. As you can see, you didn't need to.
Yeah, I like
See,
that.
Yeah, you could just talk about the stuff that interests you, and I'll just handle the rest. It was perfect, so it
Sounds
worked
good.
good. I think it worked good. I don't know
Yeah,
if you feel it's, but I
I
think
do.
it worked.
I thought it was a lot of
Okay,
fun. Thank you.
good. Oh, you're very welcome. So, is there where can everybody reach you?
Well, I am Dawn. I have a blog at Dawn1 uh, blogspot.com. It's
Hmm.
Dahne, but really the best way to get me is on Twitter, where my handle is at Dawn1, DHAN, sorry,
Hmm.
DHANE1. But I also write for Spoiler TV. I have a weekly column there called Last Week in TV. So that comes out every Monday there. So those are my best ways to do it. I used to do the Headless podcast for Southgate Media Group, and I currently do the Welcome to Beacon Hills one about Teen Wolf. So that's getting ready to start this summer. If anybody likes Teen Wolf, you can check us out.
That sounds awesome, and definitely check um, her podcast out because I listened to a little bit of it. I just wanted kind of, I have to admit, I kind of was curious. So I went on, played some old episodes, just to kind of get a feel for what to expect. And I thought you did an excellent job. So
Thank you.
um, definitely recommend your podcast. So
Thanks.
this was the Teen Wolf one that I checked out. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Um, for me, obviously you can reach the show, I should say, start off with. We are on Twitter at Fandom Zonecast on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook as Fandom Zone Podcast. We're also on iTunes and all kinds of wacky places. So yeah, come check us out and let us know what you think. Good or bad. Let us know what you think of the show. We want to get people involved. We definitely want some more followers on Twitter and Facebook. So we want to build a nice community up. So hope please let us know. Like I said, just good or bad, let us know what you think. Because if we're doing something bad, let us know. We'll try to improve it and make it better and make it more what you like. But if you're really digging the show, we'd love to know that too. So drop us a line. Give us a shout out, whatever. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell people you don't even know on the street all of us about us. As for me, you can find me at Charles Skaggs on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus. And that's a shout out there to Karen, who absolutely loves it when I do that. I don't know why; it just cracks her up for some reason. Um, and my blog of geeky things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot, which covers all the shows that we just covered, plus on top of comics, Doctor Who, all kinds of James Bond, you name it, anything of geek worthiness I cover. And so I hope you check it out and help support the show because we really appreciate you guys and we want to keep doing this because we just want to share our love of comics on television. So, and these shows. So thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you again, Don, for filling in and pinch hitting for Karen.
Thank you for having me.
I thought you did a lovely job,
Thanks.
and you're welcome back anytime.
Great.
And
Even though I know
hopefully,
nothing about Arrow.
did you really need anything?
Nope.
Know anything about Arrow? Nope. See, you're worried about nothing. It was fine. So hopefully, I can return the favor at some point if you want me to annoy you further.
Well, if you watch Teen Wolf, we're always looking for people to come on.
There you go. So I'm gonna have to get into Teen Wolf now, so I can go in on the podcast.
Watch the pilot; it's better than you think it'd be.
I'm sure. I mean, you had Roy came from Teen
Yep.
Wolf, so yeah, exactly. There's your Arrow connection right there. Even though you don't watch Arrow, but that's okay. All right. So from all of us here at the Fandom Zone podcast, we will see you next time. Maybe with Karen. Who knows? We'll find out. So hopefully she's doing better. And Karen, we're thinking about you. So good thoughts are going your way. And we'll see you guys next time on the Fandom Zone podcast. Bye, everybody.